B4BConnect.com introduces you to Clint McCormick, the race director of the Medical Mutual Glass City Marathon. Clint, can you talk a little bit about your background and what you do in your role?
So I've been involved in running for 20 years or so. This was the first event that I actually got involved in as far as a volunteer, outside of your typical weekend 5K, handing out water stops. But when the opportunity presented itself, I said, hey, I can figure this out. I understand from a runner's perspective what people are looking for, and I try to deliver that. So we try to deliver an event high on value, and focus everything about making the runner feel satisfied.
How did you become the race director, and what originally piqued your interest in taking on the responsibility?
It was a club meeting. It came up that the previous race director had some personal conflicts with the future date, and decided it was time for a change. So I was getting more involved in the club and decided that I could help out. How hard could be race directing be, right? At the time it was a smaller race, so it certainly has taken on a whole new life from when we started.
The Glass City Marathon is indeed a Boston qualifier, and it seems to be very favorable for first-time marathoners because it's relatively flat. What would you say are the strengths of the race?
Yeah, interesting enough, we're going to our 37th year. So back in 1972, if you look up Runner's World's most popular races, the Glass City Marathon was, I believe, top 10 in the country. At that point, having 200 people was good for a marathon. So we've come a long way since then. But one of the things that I like to say is that we kind of went under the radar for quite some time, and now we're back on at least the regional spotlight of a very fast, flat, and high on value race. We do, as far as cost goes, our marathon at early bird registration is around $55, $60. Compared to some of the larger races now, you're pushing $100 to get into a marathon. So we recognize that, and we try to do everything we can by using appropriate volunteers in pretty important positions, including myself. That we do everything we can to just make it a fun, enjoyable event. And certainly the Boston qualifier aspect is one of those. So when we designed the course, we were looking for certain things that would attract runners. One, flat. Okay, well, the good thing about Northwest Ohio, there are no hills. So the only hill we had on the previous course was the high-level bridge. So that was one thing that we did get rid of by moving the course. But yeah, the road conditions were important as we're designing it. We want to make sure that good footing, nice surfaces, those were important. And then one thing that now is starting to happen as we are maturing in our new course is the spectators coming out in the neighborhoods. So fan appeal onto the course is really nice. So we've grown from 800 runners in total participation 5 years ago to this year expected 7,000.
And you talked about changing the course from more urban downtown course to one that utilizes the neighborhoods and even metro parks. How has the change been perceived by runners, and how do you feel the current course benefits the race and the community itself?
I think that's a major key in why people are coming to our race now, and repeat runners. You'll notice, fast roads, the spectacular neighborhoods we run through, the metro parks. We tried to design a course that somewhat highlights what we consider the best of Northwest Ohio. Having it downtown was good, but our downtown has certainly changed in the last 20 years and really didn't accomplish what we wanted to do as far as attracting regional and national runners. We felt that moving into the neighborhoods, showcasing our metro park, showcasing our university, Savannah Township, gave the out-of-town runners a better experience. In case in point, our half marathon is sold out for 5 years in a row.
And I'm sure when people think of marathons, some of them just might think of one day when a lot of people show up and run a long distance. But a lot of effort goes into an event of that magnitude. Can you talk a little bit about all the planning and preparation that goes into making the event a success?
Yeah, that was one of the things I didn't quite understand when I took on this position. But it has turned into almost a full-time job outside of my day job. But we've got about 30 key committee members who head particular roles. We have a sponsorship director now in charge of taking care of all of our sponsors that we've attracted over the last few years. 2 volunteer coordinators now, and it's really grown into more of a business model than our typical club run that it was at one point. And that was one of the key factors that, as I was kind of doing some discovery on this event early on, I brought to the club's attention to say, hey, I think we've got something here. This is our premier event. Do we want to take this to the next level and grow it to 5,000 runners was the forecast I put together. And the club kind of said, hey, if we can do it, let's do it. This is this is something good. So based on building it around more of a business model than our standard weekend race, I think it's done wonders. But yeah, the planning is certainly year long, and as soon as the race wraps up, we're going into post race. I take about a month off, and then we start pre-planning because we open up registration on Labor Day. So it doesn't really stop.
And events like this are valuable to their host cities because of the economic impact on the community. Can you talk about how Northwest Ohio and local businesses benefit from the Glass City Marathon?
Yeah, we in fact are doing an economic impact study this year. We have the professor at the University of Toledo in economics working on that for us, so we'll have a clearer understanding of what exactly the numbers are. Our budget has grown from, in terms of revenue, from $30,000-$40,000 a year to almost $500,000, which includes our sponsorship dollars and in kind that we receive. So certainly it's taken on quite a big role just from a revenue standpoint. In terms of charitable givebacks, we give back approximately $70,000 a year to charities, and we're booking anywhere from 200 to 300 hotel room nights each year. I can track about 170 of those, but certainly people are going to hotels that I'm not aware of all over the city. So we're estimating about 300 hotel room nights. The restaurant impact is certainly huge. But yeah, last year we attracted runners from over 42 states, 3 different countries. So it certainly has raised awareness that this does have an economic impact. So that's why we went to the university and said, hey, as our host and one of our major sponsors, we're trying to draw more information to them so they can develop good economic plans. Use that information to showcase the university in publishing. So yeah, it certainly has some pretty significant numbers now.
All right, well, that concludes this B4BConnect.com interview. Clint, thank you very much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue to direct a great event.
All right, thanks a lot.